Welcome to Rev Up. This is Thomas Watson. I am a realtor just like you are. I'm a broker in charge and I'm your instructor for this session of Rev Up. And we're going to be talking about open houses. So, what is a successful open house? What does it look like? We're going to walk through that. This is module 7, 1 out of 12 courses that we offer in the Rev Up Fast Track series. So as always, we start out with an affirmation. And an affirmation is just a verbal recognition of something we know to be true so that we can trick our brains, so that we can train our brains to do what's right, to live out these affirmations. So I don't know how well you can see this on your screen. And by the way, anything that you want to take a photo of or screenshot, please do so. I'm going to read this affirmation first. It says, I am professional in every way, in dress, manner, knowledge, and action. So on 3, let's say this together. 1, 2, 3. I am professional in every way, in dress, manner, knowledge, and action. All right, that was a little weak, y'all. I'll give you a break. It's Monday. All right, well, what does this mean? What does this mean to you?
That no matter what, I'm going to always abide by my professionalism.
There you go. All right. How about you, Nellie? What does this tell you?
Kind of same along the lines that Brittany said. It applies to every aspect of my life. You know, a lot of times you know that you have a profession or a vocation and you focus on that, but you forget about even how much the appearance means, that people will judge you by that. Yeah. So if you are professional in knowledge and action, but you dress like wearing sweatpants all the time, people will not take you serious.
That is true. So yeah, all of those are good. First of all, it reminds me I have to get up off the couch, right? I'm a professional. I need to go and engage, seize the day, whatever you want to call it. And that includes how I look, how I interface with others. And not only that, I don't live my life based on what other people think of me, but you got to be smart in business. Okay. So we're running a business. We're professionals here. We're business owners. We're entrepreneurs. So we have to think like it. And I've always been taught by my dad. He didn't say it this way, but I kind of coined it this way. But dress one level above those around you. Mm-hmm. What that means to each of us is different, but what it means to me is that I'm gonna go just a little extra further in setting myself apart so that people remember me and they know that I mean business, And that doesn't mean, you can take that to mean what you want because it's different from all of us. I have a few things that I believe are just for a man in business. Really, two things I start with: my hair and my shoes. I feel like my hair needs to be groomed, cut properly, and my shoes need to show that I mean business. So I wear different shoes when I play sports, when I'm just out leisure, shopping or hanging out, or when I'm showing houses. I remember about a year and a half ago, I was at the dentist office and I was laying down on the chair, glasses on, laid back, ready for the dentist to do my checkup, whatever. And the hygienist that was standing by, I never saw her because she was behind me, but I heard her say, she said something like this. She said, yep, I can always I can always judge a man by the shoes he wears. And I had on some brand new dress shoes. So I guess she was recognizing something that, you know, I hold to be true, but she actually said it out loud, which I thought was funny. But, you know, people do look at us. People do, as Nellie said, we are judged. I don't care what the world says. We judge people, people judge us. And it's not to say it's wrong. I believe it's part of being human. But anyway, so let's move on. So that affirmation, maybe you guys can remember that now. What does it mean to be professional? It's in every area of life. All right, so what we're going to learn in this lesson is the purpose of open houses, how to select homes to hold an open house, how to prepare for and increase your attendance at an open house, staging and setting up your office for the day, which is inside the open house, and a step-by-step method for meeting attendees and getting an appointment, converting more prospects into clients, and how to post open house protocol or follow open house protocol and follow-up systems. So that's what we're going to tackle right now. So let's go ahead and start with successful open houses. What do they look like? Well, what I want you to see first is the benefits, because look, I think as people, we do things out of pain and pleasure. You know, we tend to do things that keep us from pain, and we focus on things that keep us pleasure, right? I think that's just the human way. But as business owners, you know, we don't operate much differently. So when somebody told me, hey, Tommy, there's this thing called an open house. You get to go get a bunch of balloons together, get some signs together, call a bunch of people, and then sit in a house for 2 hours. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't sound great to me. You know, I think I'll pass on that one. So I didn't do a whole lot of open houses in my, 16 years in real estate. I've been to a lot of open houses, but I do see the value. So that's why we're having this lesson. So if you'll understand that one of the benefits of an open house is it is one of the premier lead generation methods that you ever run across. Why? Because you have a captive audience. You are in charge, so to say. You're hosting the open house. So you have the leverage. You have the information that they want, because there's a reason why they walked into that open house. They want information. And it gives you face time in front of prospects, which a lot of agents don't get. They get the phone call or the email, but you get the FaceTime. So it's one of the best lead generation methodologies that you could ever run across if you interface with people properly. Now, if you go into an open house with a bad attitude and you're not dressed right, might as well not even do it, because you're not impressing anybody. You're not going to engage with anybody. So the next best thing about an open house is the exposure you're going to get, because not only are you going to place the open house in the MLS to let everybody know. And by the way, when I mean everybody that has access to the MLS and or agents that are part of the MLS are going to see your open house. So that's a lot of exposure. And also you're going to market to the properties, the neighborhood around you, but just through, if you do the balloons and signs, and then even more if you do postcards. So if done properly, they're a great use of your time. If done properly, that is the key phrase here. Here's the worst case scenario. If you're thinking about, I might be wasting time with an open house. Well, if the open house is a disaster, or it rains the whole time and nobody comes, guess what? You get to get work done for 2 hours and you practiced hosting an open house. So it's not a loss. Anybody have any questions? All right. Remember, the attitude is everything, because if you approach the open house, any lead generation method, by the way, if you approach it with a bad attitude, you're not going to do well. And a lot of times I can tell if agents are, seeking my advice on, what do I do in real estate? What do I focus on? Well, I really have to know what it is that you like to do. I need to know what your strengths are. I need to know what are the things that you focus on. So it may be that you're such a relational person that, just getting out and walking around parks or going to sporting events is your number one method of lead generation. And if that's right, then I'd say run with it. So with an open house, you got to make sure that your attitude is right. You're going to prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, and the thing that you have to tell yourself is that, hey, this open house is going to be productive. I'm doing the footwork. I'm going to get results. And then as part of your planning and preparation, you must know facts about the property and the market or the local area that the listing is in. We'll break that down here in a minute. Dress professionally, again, whatever professional is for that area geographically, culturally. I think we know what unprofessional dress is, so at least we have a baseline to start with. But for me, dressing professionally as a male realtor, I would wear slacks and a golf shirt or a button-down shirt. If it's cooler, I might wear a jacket, but usually it's button-up shirt, slacks, dress shoes, or athletic shoes, or whatever is comfortable and feels right for the open house. And then of course my name tag, my branding. So make sure you understand that what you're doing, this is a hiring opportunity, that you're wanting to be hired by prospective buyers and sellers. Okay, when we're talking about selecting a property for an open house, so a lot of times somebody in your firm will say, hey, or they'll put on a Facebook post, hey, I've got a listing coming up, who would like to do an open house? Or sometimes you just have to be that agent that reaches out and says, hey, let me know when you have an open house opportunity coming up, because number one, I want to learn, and also I believe it might be a good way for me to build up my database. So anyway, location. Now, okay, granted, in this market, it's so low inventory, everything's selling. But we also know that location is key. Things go faster when they're in certain areas. When there's, when the demand is higher for a certain area, it drives up prices. You know all this. Location matters if you're thinking about building your database of clientele in a certain price range or a certain geographical area because it's close to you or you know it best. So just think location will matter in those terms. If you're just an agent looking to grow, then location may not matter. But location will matter to the prospective buyer. It will determine who the buyer is going to be, based on the type of neighborhoods, location. It'll determine also by economics, by what people can afford. So is it a lower price point under 150,000? Is it a $500,000 listing? So think about those things. Condition, price, and terms. Now, unless you're the listing agent, you're not gonna select those things. But if you're trying to decide, hey, I want to pick an open house if you're going to be that selective and like, I want to open house, do an open house on a property that's leased above 500,000. Well, that's fine. That's all fine and good. But you need to get familiar with the condition of the property, the price, and the terms. And we're not going to go into detail there, but know the listing, talk to the listing agent, be familiar with that property. You can do an open house on your own property. It says whenever possible and appropriate, and that's a matter of talking to your BIC to get permission to do that. That's okay. So not your personal property, but your listing is what we're talking about here. It could be your personal property if you're selling it, but your own whenever possible and appropriate. Sometimes you may not want to do the open house on your own property. Maybe it's next door to your house and you just don't, you want to keep that separation. So you might ask another agent to do the open house for you. Research your office listings. That's where you can get open house opportunities. Now, we're still with selecting the property. If you're going to plan to do open houses, there's certain things you got to have on hand. So go ahead and invest in some personalized yard and open house signs. Now, it's okay just to have the Realty One Group Revolution logo in the open house. That way it's generic. You can use it. You can let your friend use it. But I go the extra mile and I have my name and phone number typed on them. Okay. And if you get one big enough, you can do that, or you can make one part smaller. But invest in your own personalized open house and yard signs. You can hold an open house on listings in your farm area. Now, if you're farming, you're trying to cover a certain area, maybe it's your own neighborhood, then ask to host open houses. Now, can we host an open house for another firm? Yes, but you have to get the permission of that agent and their BIC. Okay. You can't just host an open house just willy-nilly. It's got to be planned. You got to have permission. And most agents, not every agent, but most agents will allow you to do that. Well, let me just back up. A lot of agents will allow you to do an open house on their property. There are some agents or firms who will not allow an agent from another firm to do an open house. So again, that's a question for a BIC. What if it's vacant versus occupied? Well, the way we approach the open house would be a little different. The way we handle and operate inside of the home will be different. If it's vacant, I mean, it's, people can look anywhere, right? I mean, nothing's going to be in the house, so nobody really cares. You don't have to supervise as much. When you have owner occupants, that means they have personal items and property inside the house. You must supervise, make sure that nothing's taken, nothing's damaged. So it's good to host an open house with a partner and not by yourself for multiple reasons. Weekends versus weekdays. You need to think about it. If you host an open house during the week, who is going to come? Well, if it's during the weekday, like before 5 o'clock, you're probably just going to have agents coming. If you want to have the home buyers themselves, you're going to have to wait till they get off of work. So weekends, again, most people are off on the weekend. So who's going to be coming by? Again, just things to think about when you're hosting an open house. Okay, here's kind of your open house kit. Things you need to have in your possession when you do an open house. So a minimum of 6 to 12 personalized open house signs. Now, if you ask Andrea Fortune, I believe there might be some open house signs that we still keep at the office for agents to use. Agents will use them and then return them. They're supposed to. So, but I would tell you, go ahead and invest. If you get the open house signs, I don't think they're but like, the open house signs are like maybe 15 bucks a piece. The directional signs are 7 to 10 bucks a piece, I believe. If you get them in multiples, they're cheaper. So I would just go ahead and get 6 open house signs, get 6 directional signs. Business cards you want to have on hand because we agents, some homeowners still want to see your business card. But the biggest thing is for an open house, something quick, small, and easy to pass on to the potential client, and that's a business card. Information about the area, you want to have that. Buyer handbook. So I need to change that to buyer guide. So the buyer's guide that I gave out last week, I believe in module 6, you'll want a copy of those. And what you can do is print those out digitally, or you can tell, you can have people sign up for them and you can tell them you'll email it to them, which might be a good idea. You could have one on hand for display and then say something, hey, provide me your email. I'd love to send you one of these. Anyway, personal marketing materials, and then property disclosures if they're available. You want to have the property disclosures because people are going to want to know, okay, well, is there anything wrong with the house? Well, take a look at this property disclosure, read for yourself. You also want to have a clipboard and some sign-up sheets, or you could be using your tablet, iPad, or whatever. There are programs or apps that you can buy or use that actually help you host an open house. Bring some bottled water for a couple of reasons, not just to have to refresh people, but somebody might come in who, you know, is having a medical issue and they need water. And if you're in a vacant home, sometimes, you know, homeowners do shut off water. So you would have something in case of emergency. Have your own table and chair. If it's a vacant property, something you can put your brochures on, your flyers, and then maybe a chair to sit in when nobody's in the house. A flashlight, because sometimes people want to look in the attic or the basement. Okay, I always keep that in my backpack, and some extra pins. And if you've got some Realty One Group pins or pins with your name and number on it, even better. Okay, so we're preparing the open house and we're getting ready to promote it. So it's kind of one in the same, but what we need to do in preparation is preview the listing, not just read the listing data sheet, but also actually go out to the property prior to the open house and walk through it. Okay, you need to have a working knowledge. You could go the hour before you have the open house, but I would say you probably need to go the day before and take a good look at the house. Okay, when there's nobody that's going to show up early or something like that. You need to discern or discover how many signs are going to be needed. So you're going to have to drive out to the neighborhood. You're going to have to start at the house and go backwards. So to get from the house back to the neighborhood entrance, how many turns? So how many directional signs? Where will you put them? Keep in mind, when you put directional signs down, you can't put them in private property unless you get permission. So it needs to be on a right of way. Also, be reminded that there are certain times you can only put out directional signs, drawing a blank here, that you can only put out the signs promoting the open house or the listing or whatever. So make sure you get the HOA information and look up their signage policy And make sure if you're going to do an open house on the weekend, make sure you don't put your signs out too early or they might pick them up and throw them away. Or they might pick them up and call you, and or they might call you and fine you or something like that. Okay, so know the law in reference to signs. Some communities have ordinances about when signs can go up, how big they should be. The HOAs, like, oh gosh, what's the big community? Sun City down in Fort Mill. I think it's Sun City. You can't put a sign up. There's some condo plexes you can only put a sign in the window and not on the lawn. And there are some communities that require you to put a sign up that you have to have a sign made by them to put in the yard. So anyway, those are usually more pricey communities, but you just need to know these things. The listing agent can help prep you. Preview the surroundings available. Preview the properties surrounding the listing that you're going to do the open house on. So that just means getting familiar with inventory. So things like this. If the listing you're going to do an open house on is a single story, or the houses around it, are they single stories? Or are they 2 stories? Or are they homes with basements? What are the options there? In that neighborhood, what are the solds in the last 6 months? What's been under contract currently? What's active currently? Is there any building projects going up in or around the community? Things like that. These are things that you need to know, and you won't know until you go out there and take a look. Don't rely on pictures to tell the story, because they don't tell the story. They don't tell the full story. And Remine is a platform that's provided for, there's a free version, I believe, and you can access it in Canopy under Realtor Resources or something like that. But they also have a paid version if you want to invest in it. But if you're an investor or you're farming communities, this Remine app will come in very handy. It'll give you all the information you need about the neighborhood. So you want to invite the neighbors to the open house, the cordial thing to do. So there's a few ways you can do that. You can get a list and call people. You can email neighbors. You can do a social media blitz. The fastest way is to door knock and or put door hangers out, or you can send postcards directly to every house on that block or that neighborhood. That to me probably would be most effective, in addition to door knocking. And some people don't like door knocking, some do. Some neighborhoods won't allow it. But if you can go out and catch people at home before your upcoming listing, I think everybody, would be curious to know what's going to be selling around them. So it's probably an effective thing to do. And invite your circle of influence. Who are the people in your database that have told you they're looking for a house, or they might be looking to buy in the future? Invite them out to the open house. When it comes to coordinating the advertising, well, so you are the advertisement, right? Because you're the professional. First of all, you're going to prepare a flyer, something that people can walk in and walk out with. You'll get a lot of looky-loos when you host a home, an open house. I keep wanting to say a home warranty. When you host an open house, people want to come in, just take a quick look. And if they can walk away with something with your name on it, see, that's a win for you. You're getting to meet people that you didn't meet otherwise. However, being smart about how to capture their information for the future. So sometimes a good thing to do is when people walk into your open house and they see a big sign that says drawing, enter free drawing or whatever. And if they give their email, you're gonna have a drawing for a $50, $25 gas card or whatever it is, Starbucks. I would make it something that probably everybody would like a gas card. Most people will give their email just for that. So when they give their email, they write their email down, you go and give them some personal information about you. Maybe it's a flyer of the property. Maybe it's the buyer guide with your information on it. Maybe it's all of the above. And then you're going to have their email to follow up with after the open house. So that's a win for both sides. Make sure the listing agent posts the open house on the MLS. I'm not sure about with our name and phone number as the host anymore. I think that might have changed with the MLS. I need to look at that. But just make sure the listing agent is posting this on the MLS, because if they fail to do that, then you don't get that pre-publicity and you're not going to have as many people come out. Now, people will find open houses through third-party apps like Zillow. And that's all well and good, but you want to do your homework too and make sure it goes out on the MLS. You want to make sure you post to other internet sites. And again, if the agent is posting it through the MLS, it's going to show up on Zillow, Trulia, etc. Any questions?
No.
Now, also, and I probably need to add this, it's kind of mentioned here, but if you're going to be hosting the open house, get the agent's permission and promote it on social media like crazy. It's okay to do that. All right, we've already mentioned MLS, local association sites, post to your website, social media. There it is. Advance notice sign writer. So when you're putting the directional signs, the open house sign out early, you know, that's advertisement. Flyers going in people's mailboxes, or, you know, door hangers, you know, prior to the open house. That's good. Create a video announcement and post it on social media, or do boosted ads on Facebook. These are just ideas. So how do you prepare for the open house? Well, first of all, you're going to get a packet together for all your visitors. You can just call this an info packet. So what you're going to have in those packets, and usually when you go into an open house, you'll see these stacked on a table and they're stapled together. But you're going to have a copy of the listing, the MLS listing on top. You're going to have your property flyer, or of course that could be on top. Arrange it as you see fit to promote your business, because that's what you're doing. You're promoting your business. A plat map is good to have, especially if it's a property with sizable acreage. School information, people want to know that, and you can go to greatschools.org, or there's lots of different sites. Even our own OneSuite CRM, I think you can go and print off school information. And I know you can on Real Scout. Not sure if you're using Real Scout. I'll do a class on that sometime in the future. It is by far one of the best tools to send to prospective buyers. Anyway, nearby businesses, what are they? I mentioned them. Put a flyer. You could build a property feature sheet, and you can do that if you go to Realtor Property Resource, which is another resource in Canopy, and sign up. It's free. You can print these out, property sheets, seller sheets, whatever. And these look really good to add to your packets. You can also prepare a CMA from RPR as well. And again, this is all free. Consider a partner for safety, not just for safety, but it's really best when you have another agent to get feedback from. One person who's hosting and one who is kind of standing by observing and can notice things that you might not notice because you're busy talking to people. And what you can do is you can divide the leads, or you can swap helping each other. What I've seen effective is when two people work together and they divide the leads up. So you want to make sure that you have pre-posted the address of the open house and leave it with someone to let them know how long you will be there, in case something happens. What time they should expect to hear from you when the open house is over, and if they don't, they can try to reach you. Create a code or a code word that if you call or text somebody and mention this code word, then they will call 911 for you. This is really, I think this is a really good thing to do. I recommend you find someone within Realty One Group who can be your go-to, and maybe y'all can help show properties for each other and share business like that. But somebody that, it could be your husband, your spouse, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or a kid, but have somebody that you can give this code to and let them know, hey, I'm going on showings, or I'm going to host an open house. And if you don't hear from me by a certain amount of time, call me. Or if I text you or call you with this code word, you need to call 911. All right, got to move on. So the day of the open house, these are things that you're going to do. You're going to arrive early. You don't want to be late for your own open house. That's not good business. Memorize where the lights are, the doors, the windows. The reason for that is if somebody turns a light off in a room, then you know where the switch is because you've already walked the house. You want to walk ahead, get in there early, have the lights on, have the blinds open, all that good stuff, light coming into the house. So you want to make sure that you straighten up beds if they're messed up. Maybe put throw pillows on in a nice orderly fashion. Maybe there's magazines sitting that you need to straighten up, things like that. Also, you want to bring some items that you can work on should you have the time to do some work. For example, if you have gaps between people coming into the open house, then if you have your note cards, your 336, you can work on that. Just an idea. All right, now you're actually doing the open house. And this is the part where we're gonna, ideally, we would kind of walk through and recite some of this back and forth, but I'm just gonna run through this for sake of time. You want to acknowledge people as soon as they walk in. Don't just sit back and let people walk in without a greeting. Greet them warmly and kindly. That tells people a lot about you if you let somebody walk in the house and you just look at them, okay? Greet them, say, hello, come on in, good to see you. Here is our sign-in roster. And by the way, we're raffling a gas card. All you have to do is put your email here and we're gonna call the winner as soon as this is over. Do I need to be here? No, you don't need to be here. So that's that conversation starter right there. It's positive, it's upbeat, and gets people in the mood for looking at the property that you have. Engage them with questions, but don't bombard them. Okay, you want to ask them open-ended questions to get them talking. Okay, so the person, if two people walk in together and one person is signing up for your giveaway, or they're signing up for your open house, whatever, give the property flyer to the other person, engage them, talk to them while the other person is signing. Don't try to give somebody information that's engaged in signing your roster. You need to get that email information. Let people explore on their own. Don't hover over them. Just know where they are. You don't have to follow them into every room. You can follow them somewhat. But again, if you're the only host and people are still walking in the door, you don't need to be following people all around the house. You need to be there when people move in, come in the door. Confirm contact information received. If this is, I'm not sure why I have that. I guess that's maybe you looking over the sign up form to make sure the email, their handwriting is legible, things like that. Now, during the open house, you can begin, if you have time, you can begin to email people back and just let them know, hey, glad you came to the open house. But I would really set that for afterwards, because you really want to be focused on helping the people that are going to be walking in. Watch people, listen. You'll learn a lot about what they want, what they need. Ask questions that will lead to appointment opportunities. Okay. The last two bullets are parties who own a house. So people who come in who own a house, there are specific questions you want to ask them, like if they're looking to buy, or if they're looking at your open house, they must be looking to buy. And you've asked them that, and you said, well, do you have a property to sell? They say, yes, they do. How soon are you willing to sell your property? How soon are you willing to get on the market? So those are kind of questions you want to ask. For somebody who comes in and who's renting, how long are you in a rental? How long is your rental agreement? When would you be ready to buy? So the questions are going to be just a little different. So just know that you're not going to ask the same questions to the same people. Now, these are CMA objections. What I'm going to do is, because I want to get through the material, I'm going to send you the CMA objections. I mean, not the CMA, all the objections. I'm going to read this one scenario, but what I want you to know is that when you host an open house and you're asking people about, hey, just tell them, hey, I'd love to help you when you, I see you're looking to buy, you're looking at this property. I would love to help you, even if this property is not the right one for you. Oh, we're not ready right now. So people are going to have all different types of objections. One here is the CMA objection is this. They've told you that they would like to buy a property. That's why they're out looking at open houses. They do have a house to sell. And you're like, oh, great. This is what I do for a living. I would love to do a CMA on your house just to let you know exactly what you can sell it for. And they might say something like, oh, don't go through that trouble for us. And you need to have a comeback. You need to have a reply for that. Oh, it's no trouble. This is what I do for a living. And if they say something like, oh, we're not thinking of selling right now, or we're not thinking of selling, yeah, you're probably not, but wouldn't you want to know what your property's worth right now? And then that kind of opens the door for more conversation. If they say something like, we're not ready to sell right now, well, what you want to do is make sure that your reply sets you up to be the point of contact that they call when they are ready. I mean, 8 times out of 10, they're looking at an open house. They probably are ready. They're just not willing to admit it. So all of these are objections. I'm going to give you the objection sheet for all of these. And what we can do is at a later time, we can get on another call and go through the objections if that will help you. Does that sound good to you? You too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the goal at this open house is to make appointments. You want to make as many as you can, if you can. If you're not getting appointments, you're getting the follow-up information so you can make the appointment the next day or later that evening. So that's the whole goal. Make an appointment and get in front of these people and say, hey, it was great meeting you at the open house. I learned a little bit about you, but I want to know everything about your home search, what it is you're looking for, what you want. And so you need a separate appointment to have that conversation. So for owners, offer them a free market analysis of their home. We've kind of already talked about this. For renters, offer them a sample of your buyer system. So your buyer's guide, I need to change this verbiage again. For anybody who's renting, give them the buyer's guide because that shows them the process you're going to take them through to buy a house. If they're renting, chances are they've not owned before. If they're owners, they don't need to see that buyer's guide. They've been through that process, but what they need is a market analysis, a CMA of their home. They need to know how much it's worth from a licensed professional. All right, so learn and memorize your handlers. So the objections we were just talking about. So the objection handlers is what this is referring to. The comeback, the reply that you're going to get. So review each objection when you get this sheet. Find somebody and role play with them. Somebody be the agent and somebody be the home, the home buyer, prospective home buyer. And then practice them until you know them by heart. Now, when you get on the phone with somebody or get in front of them, you're not going to say, hey, wait a minute, let me pull my script out. You're not going to do that. But because you've already been through these different scenarios, you're going to have something to say. What you don't want to do is to be caught off guard and act like, and they can tell you're not sure what to do. As professionals, sales professionals, there's one thing we always are trained to do. We know to do. If somebody asks us something that we don't have a response for, immediately your brain should click and say, you know what? I don't have an answer for you right now, but if you'll give me a couple hours, if you give me to the end of the day, or if I can call you back in the morning, I will get you an answer to that question. So that leaves you in a good space with that person. All right, after the open house, there are a few things we need to do, and we're moving on. Return the home as you found it. Whatever lights you turned on, turn them off. Vacuum the carpet if you need to, sweep if you need to, pick up trash, take the trash out, don't leave it in the house, things like that. Brief the sellers. If you're the listing agent, your sellers return, give them a little update on what just happened. If they're not your sellers, but the listing belongs to another agent, send that agent a follow-up email and tell them what happened. Keep it positive. Don't talk about the negatives. Write a thank you note for the owners. Say thank you for letting me do an open house for you. And then also write a note card to the listing agent. Thank you so much for trusting me to host your open house. You'll want to collect all your signs and balloons, any remnants of an open house. Send thank you notes to all the attendees. So everybody that signed up your sheet, you're going to send a thank you note. So what I would do is send an email, and I would send a thank you card by US mail, and you would follow up. So those are two ways. You're going to hit them with the email and with a follow-up postcard because you're professional. Send a report to the listing agent if that makes sense, or if they ask one. Add any new prospects to your database now, and then follow up. All right, and as always, we end our session with the one habit. The one habit is to make 3 calls to 3 new people. Add those 3 people to your database. Write 6 handwritten note cards, 3 to the 3 people you just added to your database, and then 3 others that you needed to keep in touch with that are already in your database. And that's all I have for you for this session. Rev up module 7.